So we're in week 4. So week 4 means that in assignments, come down here to assignments. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 should all be done. And somewhere there's a template for you to start, but here's a video that shows you how to calculate your grade. So use a spreadsheet to do that. And this is really important, calculating your grade. I got straight A's when I was in grad school, except for one class I got a high B, like 89%, because I didn't get along with the marketing professor and I was young and a little bit contentious. And the way I did so well in grad school was I would calculate my grade in a spreadsheet in every class, and I'd know where I stood in every class. I'd figure out how's my grade earned in this class, and then that gave me a speedometer by which I could measure my speed and measure my progress. How was I doing? And for classes that need a little bit more effort, I'd know which classes needed more effort. And for classes where I already had an A, back off on the effort. My goal was to get like a 90.5%. Why get a 94%? That's extra work. Why get a 99%? That's extra work. 90%. That's an A. And it's really different on the transcript. 90% is really different than 89.9. You got all B's, you got all A's. 0.1 makes a difference. And so knowing how to calculate your grade allows you to know where you stand. When you know where you stand, you can make decisions. You have information. And so this is really important. So we'll talk a little bit more about calculating a grade and how you go about doing that in a minute. But I first want to just give you an overview of what you should be doing. So you should have all of your assignments in Blackboard through week 4. If you're in my online class, you should post through discussion week 4. And then in my IT lab, you need to do, this should be done, and you don't need to do the training, right? You don't need to do the training, you only need to do the assessment. And so your assessment should be done for Windows, and you should be done for Word 1, 2, and 3. So we're doing one of these a week. So you should be through Word 3. And then down here in exams, there's chapter exams. And those chapter exams right here, chapter quizzes, you should be through chapter 4 by the end of this week. So that's what you have to do in this class to get an A. Assignments, my IT lab, discussions. Half your grade comes from Blackboard. So when you look in here at my grade, that's half your grade. Your other half of the grade comes from, I don't know where you all see it, course materials, main menu, grades. This is the other half of your grade. So I'm just saying this to make sure it's super clear. So if you have a 80% in Blackboard, and you think, great, I have an 80% in the class, and you've never gone to my IT lab, what's half of 80%? You've got a 40% in the class, and you just failed. I had a student last semester or the semester before. Why did I get an F? I had an 80%. Really? Let me look. I go look it up. She had an 80% in Blackboard. And she had, or whatever, is close to that. And she had nothing in my IT lab. She got an F. So you got half your grade from Blackboard, half your grade from my IT lab. If you had 80% in Blackboard and 100% in my IT lab, what would be your grade in the class?
90.
Yeah, sweet, 90. 90%. Because half of 80 is 40, half of 100 is 50, add 40 and 50 together, that's 90. Okay, so you should know where you stand on your grade. In classes, I have only ever seen 2 ways of calculating grades. One way is the points method, where everything has a point value. And so there might be like 3,893 points throughout the semester. And if you've earned 3,893 points, you've got 3,893 out of 3,893. So 3,893 divided by 3,893, you've got 100%. Let's just make it 1,000 for argument's sake. Let's say there's 1,000 possible points in a class. and you've earned 740. 740 divided by 1,000 is 74%. You would have a 74% in the class. That's the points method. When you look at my grade and some of these things, you will see points for some of this stuff. I do not use the points method. That's not the method I use. I use the other method, which people sometimes use, right? And that's the percentage method, where I have different categories, and each category is worth a certain percentage of your grade. Where do you learn about that? The syllabus. You go to the syllabus. And in the syllabus, and I'm going a little bit slow explaining this, because I found not a lot of people know it. And so please forgive me if you're a little bit pained by me pointing out what's obvious to you. My experience over 16 years of teaching people at the community college and even the university level is that a lot of people don't know this. How many people already know it? Right, not a lot of hands. So the percentage method just breaks things into categories and gives them a percent. What's that baseball player who is really witty? Yogi Berra. I like playing trivia with myself. Yogi Berra once said, "We are going to turn this team around 360 degrees." That's pretty funny, because then you just be going the exact same direction, right? So there's only, in a whole, when we talk about a whole, there's only 100%. To be technical. We could be a little bit metaphoric and say 110%. I'm going to give it 110%. I thought there was a Yogi Berra quote that would come to mind for me about percentages, but it didn't. So 110%, right? If you only have 100% in a course, then you just figure out what makes up your 100%. 50% is from my IT lab, 50% is from Blackboard. Sweet. And so then you read here, inside my IT lab, your my IT lab score is determined by an average of all items, including the final. All items are weighted equally. So the math on that, if there is 10 items and I did 1, I would have 1 out of 10, which is 10. And then I would have 10% of 50%, which would be 5%. I've earned 5% towards my overall grade. So if I was to write a formula for that, my formula would be like, for my IT lab, and let's say that there's 10 items, it'd be x1, or let's say there's just 3 items, or 5. x1 plus x2, we'll call them I1. I1, item 1, plus item 2, plus item 3, plus item 4, plus item 5, divided by 5. So if I got, or if these were each worth 100, right? Whatever my score was. So this would be 100. This would be 0. This would be 100. This would be 100. This would be 0. I now have 300 out of 500, which is 60%. So I'm going to do that mathematical formula to figure out my average of what I've earned in my IT lab. And then I'm going to just make sure that my parentheses match here. So that's the math right there. I'm going to add one more set of parens. Order of operations in mathematics. And then right here I'm going to do times 0.5 because it's half my grade. And then plus because I'm going to do the same thing with Blackboard. So what that says, that math right there, is I got 100 on the first one, I got 0 on the second, 100 on the third, 100 on the fourth, and 0 on the fifth. So I got 300 out of 500, which is 60%. And we could be like, is it? 300 divided by 500. I did 5,000. 300 divided by 500, 60%. And the way I do that math in my head, because I'm no genius, but I work hard. The way I do that math in my head is instead of 300 divided by 500, I just double everything. What you do to the numerator, you could do to the denominator. You can multiply anything by 1 because 1 times anything is that thing. 1 times Todd, you have 1 Todd. So 2 over 2 is 1. Right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I can multiply 300 over 500 by 2 divided by 2. I could get 600 over 1,000. And then I just know, right, that's like 600 over 1,000, 60 over 100, that's 60%. So that's how I did the math. How many people do math exactly the same way to find the percent? You went to 1,000 first. Nobody? Isn't that unique? How many people are able to look at that and just go, no, that's 60%? Whoa. How many people do it in some other way? All kinds of ways, huh? Nobody does it my way. That's interesting. So that's how then I take that 60%, multiply it by 0.5. So that would give me 30%. What's half of 60% is 30%. So I've earned 30% towards my grade. So this will all translate to 30%. And then I do the same thing over here with Blackboard. Inside Blackboard, your Blackboard score is determined by 80% assignments and 20% participation. So I'd have a little bit more of a complicated formula. It's all going to ultimately be multiplied by 0.5 because it's half my grade. And then what's going to be multiplied by 0.5? 2 things here added together. And inside them, one of them is going to be times 0.2 times stuff added up. Or whatever. And the other one's going to be 0.8 times I think that's right, but you want to test it to make sure. And then you'll just do that in your spreadsheet. How many people have worked with spreadsheets before? Cool. How many people have never worked with spreadsheets before? So Microsoft Word is an example of word processing. Microsoft Word allows you to work with words. Microsoft Excel allows you to work with numbers. So word processing is for words. Spreadsheets, like Microsoft Excel, are for numbers. So just like word processing lets you do amazing things with the written word and documents, spreadsheets let you do amazing things, amazing manipulations with numbers. Like calculating your grade in every class and knowing exactly where you stand. As soon as you get a score on another thing, you enter it in your spreadsheet and you know exactly where you're at in every class. Do you all see the power of that? I got up kind of early, so I'm in a little bit of a different energetic state right now. Maybe you've noticed. You want to learn more about spreadsheets, or you just want to watch the videos? Tired of the slow pace? Isn't it kind of like calming though? No, it's just boring. But did you learn something? How many people learned something? How many people learned nothing? Who wants me to go on? Nobody. One hand. 2 hands. Huh? Oh, you want me to go on. All right. All right, I'll stop there. Go watch. Well, you're not going to watch the videos right now because I got something else to talk to you about. All right, so that's what you should be doing this week for the online people.